Hello everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and this one is in the large craft journal. So as you know, if you've watched my videos before, that I often in the craft journals use some clear gesso on the pages first. This is just because this is quite a thirsty substrate, and it helps the paints and things you want to use behave a little bit more. So it's just the same as using a white gesso on a page that's white. Really, it just kind of is a prep for the paper before you use it. So that's applied, and then I give it a good dry, and then page is going to have a bit of a rainbow vibe going across the middle of it. So I'm starting off, I'm using one of Dina's square brushes. It's one of the larger ones, and I'm just swooping some red ruby, it's ruby paint across the page. It's Dina's paint as well. Then I'm using tangerine, and then of course it's lemon lime. I think I actually use sky, not turquoise, and then I think it's magenta at the bottom. So I'm not drying in between each of these colours that I'm applying at the beginning, but I am washing my brush in between each one and just giving it a bit of a dab. When I said I'm not drying, I mean I'm not drying the paint. Sorry about the dog. Calm is restored. There was a very scary delivery man in the road. She loves to look out the window during the day. She likes to warn us of very dangerous looking delivery drivers that come into the road. Bless her. Anyway, so then I'm continuing. So this is sky, not turquoise, although I do often like to use turquoise in my rainbows. Sometimes I do mix it up a little bit. And then magenta. So once that was finished, I then dried it using the heat tool and started to think about how to make this rainbow stripe that was just kind of floating in the middle feel like it belonged on the page. So I'm using this Marks stencil from Dina Wakley, and I'm going in initially with some ruby and a blending tool and just adding some marks to just kind of blend that rainbow into the page a little bit. And then this is fuchsia, and I'm just adding some of that too at the top, and then I'm going to go in at the bottom with some of my favourite pink from Amsterdam Acrylic. You can come on, you can all say Permanent Red Violet Light, one of my favourite pinks. I don't know what it is about it that I love it so much. It's such a pretty pink, and just blending that out at the bottom as well. So I guess the reason that I did that was just to kind of help the rainbow blend a bit more onto the page. So then I'm using one of my favourite face stencils from Dina Wakley. This is called Pensive Face, and I'm going to use this with gloss spray. So I don't often use gloss spray through stencils, just because I don't always like how unpredictable it can be. I'm not always very good at just doing a thin layer, and so it does bleed under, so I was being a bit brave here. And I'm using the black gloss spray, and you can see I'm trying really hard to be careful with where it's going and not to add too much. Scary. This black gloss spray is fabulous, so it's so good for using for things like this and for masking as well. So I'm just letting the stencil sit there for a little bit before I lift it up, and then once I lift it, I'm also going to try and blend the image in at the top and bottom of the page. So I'm also going to take a print off the stencil as well, on a piece of paper, which I will probably use on another journal page. Just leave that on there, but don't leave your stencils on too long if they've got gloss spray, because it does act like a bit of a glue and it will kind of glue things together. So at the minute you can see this is a little bit of a floating head, and I didn't really want it kind of floating, so I'm just kind of filling in those spaces at the top and bottom of my page, just to make it feel like it belongs a bit more on my journal page, and then just going in up at the top and just adding in a little bit more so it kind of touches the top and bottom and the sides of my page, because really that is the main focal point of this page. And then this is another trick that I do sometimes, using a bit of stamping. So I'm using black archival because the image is in black, and this is just a text stamp, and I'm just adding some stamping around some of the edges of my image, and it just kind of helps to blend that out a little bit, and it softens those lines, and this is something that I like to do along with adding my signature dots onto my page. So I think that is what I do next, after I have added the white in on the eye. So you can see that the eye has got lost a little bit. So by adding the white in, here I'm just working out where I need to add the white because I want to get it in the right place and not kind of mess up here. So by adding the white in, not only does it sharpen up that eye, but it also kind of brings this image to life because you're adding that kind of catch light back into the eye. Makes it look a bit more believable, I guess. And the bit that had lost because of the gloss spray, because of my overzealous spraying, it kind of sharpens that up too, which you can see there. That works quite nicely. So then here I'm using my black dots to do the same thing that the stamping is doing. So it's just helping to blend out those quite sharp edges where the image meets the rainbow, the black image. And you can see it just blends out those edges a little bit. And that's one of the reasons I like to use dots on my pages. It softens things, I think, as well as it being quite a nice effect that I like to use. So if you've managed to get hold of my latest release from Funky Fossil, you will know that on the Journal Marks stamp set, there are my signature dots on one of the stamps. So if you can't be bothered to sit and do loads of dots, then you can do it really quickly and just use that stamp. Those stamps and stencils are available. I've still got one or two left on my website. They're also available from Sarah at funkyfossil.co.uk. I believe there might be a few at Frantic Stamper in the US, and Natalie May Scrapbooking in Australia has put in a second order for more of them too. So yeah, so I'm just carrying on with my dots. Then I kind of felt that that image was too stark. There wasn't enough layers going on my page. So I've grabbed some of the black collage paper from one of the text packs by Dina Wakley, and using some matte medium, and I'm just adding some pieces of this onto my page. Although it mostly gets lost against the black gloss spray image, it does just lift it a little bit. It adds a little bit of relief from all of that black, because you can still see the white text. Now this doesn't really show up on the video because of the glare from my lighting, but it does work quite nicely without it being too much of a contrast to the black. So that was the reason that I chose the black collage paper, because the black part would disappear and it would just leave the writing behind. So I'm just adding a few pieces of this onto my page just to kind of soften that image as well, I guess. So I do like to use lots of text on my journal pages. So I've already got the text stamp, I've got the text collage paper. Then I decided I was going to add in some of the stenciling using the Done Is Better stencil from Dina Wakley. And here I'm using, I think that does look like mineral actually. It's either mineral or it's white. Obviously mineral isn't as harsh as the white, but you've still got that contrast with the lighter colour. Either would work perfectly well here. And you can see I'm just adding that stenciling over some of those areas of black, and it's starting to create that really layered look that I like in my journal pages. So you've got the different texts going on. You've got the stamp text, which is like a typeface, the scripty writing on the collage paper, and then the lovely bold oh my goodness, I can't think, the bold capital letters on the stencil. And then because I'd got a bit of paint left over, I decided to do some splatters as well, which also is a really great technique for helping to blend and soften areas on your journal pages. And also just sometimes it just creates a really cool effect. So very carefully, as you can see, this is literally how carefully I splatter these days. I used to just like really go for it, but as I've told you so many times, I have so many items of clothing that are covered in splatters, and so is my art room, and I decided I needed to be a little bit more careful, so hence the really tiny brush and just being really slow and a little bit more deliberate about where they go. Okay, so once that was done, then I got out the Alpha stamps and stencil and mask set from Dina Wakley, and a piece of collage paper that I've stamped some of my own cut out stamp marks onto, and I'm just going to cut out the letters for the word kind from this piece of paper, and then they are going to be stuck onto my page. So I've cut them out, and you will notice when I stick them down, I stick them right quite close to the face, and I actually think with hindsight they would have been much better if they'd been over at the left hand side of the page. But that's just me being a real fussy perfectionist, and I guess it doesn't matter because it does work perfectly fine. But I do like to use these letters for doing this kind of thing as well. So sort of drawing around them and cutting them out and then sticking them in. It's a really nice effect, as well as, you know, being quite effective to stencil through with paint as well. So once they are stuck down, you can see here I've just shuffled them right over because I wanted to write the word B on there as well. I need to leave some space for it, but I ended up feeling that the letters were encroaching too much on the face image. But do you know what? Does it actually matter? No, it really doesn't, because I actually loved doing this page and seeing how it grew and how all the layers came together. So sometimes it's a real pain to be a perfectionist and to look at things critically. But I know we're all really bad for doing that. We look at our stuff and only see the faults with it and not where it's actually really great. So yeah, I guess that's a fault with all. We can all be like that, can't we? So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching me create this really layered rainbow page with a bold image using the Pensive Face stencil and the black gloss spray. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.